Welcome back to another episode of the On Deck Circle podcast. I am your host, Nick Zanaboni. You can find me on Twitter at nzanaboni93. Jason, come on in here. How are you, buddy?
What's going on, Nick? I'm doing pretty good. Still early, but the Cubs are tied for the NL Central lead. So, hey, optimism's running high here in Chicago.
Speaking of Cubs, I have a question for you. Do you listen to Pardon My Take by any chance?
I do.
Did you listen to the Jake Arrieta interview yet?
No, I haven't. Was that just like this week or something?
I think it may have been Monday. And
it
is fantastic.
I know. He was retired.
Yep. He talks about pitching to like his son's Little League team.
Oh, nice.
Just, like mow them down. And parents would be getting mad at him for like striking their kids out. So I am looking forward to listening, and then I need to hear back on how you pitched to your Little League team.
All right. Well, today it was just a little soft toss, but
yeah. Does anyone how old are they? 9?
7 and 8 year olds.
Can any of them actually kind of hit like a little?
Some of them, yeah, because right now we're doing, kid pitching, so it's starting to get the problem is there's no strikeouts at the beginning of the year. Everyone's just kind of learning. So, but yeah, some of them can hit, man. I mean, hard ground balls, if that's what you want to call hitting. There's not many fly balls, so.
Yeah.
We gotta work on the launch angle.
Yeah. All right, Dave, come on in. There he is.
Hey, what age did you say, Jason?
7 and 8 year olds.
Dude, I straight up was hitting dingers at that age. For real though. We did a pitching machine at that age, and we had a pretty cool little field. I mean, it's tiny, but it's like made for kids.
Yeah.
And out in left field, there was like some woods kind of. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but there was like some woods and stuff, and like you were just the shit if you like lost a ball in the woods,
Yeah.
So everyone was trying to pull the ball, all the time because you want to hit it in the woods. So you never hit anything opposite field because there's just like an open field out there. Like nobody cares, like you want to like hit in the woods and like lose a ball, man.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, man. But yeah. I bet you a lot of those kids are probably better hitters than Nick, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Definitely tops the exit velo for sure.
Like I could see Nick maybe striking him out, because the mound's probably like what? Like how far is the mound?
45 feet.
Yeah, so Nick could probably be pumping in like 50-mile-an-hour fastballs, striking them out,
yeah,
brushing these kids back, showing a certain little dominance.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta tell him his boss,
I mean, listen, I'm not mad, Nick. I'm just saying, man. So let's get into some stuff here. We're going to talk. We got some injuries, of course, to start off the season. I mean, what's new there? And then we got some hot starts as well. Kind of exactly what you'd think we'd talk about in week 2. And let's go ahead and start with Mackenzie Gore making his debut for the Padres there. And I don't know. I think I might have a little bit of an interesting take on this one. I would like for Jason, if possible, to go ahead and lead things off here talking about this debut for Mackenzie Gore, so I can follow up after Nick.
Yeah, sure. So Gore made his debut last Friday against the solid Atlanta lineup. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, 3 Ks, 3 hits, and 2 walks. And even in struck out some of the heavy hitters and such. He struck out Ozzy Albies. But really, so for someone that struggled with their command the last 2 seasons and just, not being able to find that strike zone, he actually, again, only surrendered 2 walks. However, it was literally really fastball heavy. He only threw that fastball 75% of the time. So really didn't rely on too much of the secondary options. But he sat mid-90s, attacked the zone, threw a ton of strikes. And, to go deep into the game and, which is most pitchers aren't doing already this season, even the veterans. It was good to see. So I like to see him build on this first start and see what he can do.
Yeah, I was incredibly impressed that he went 5 innings. Like, incredibly impressed. I was anticipating not like an opener, but like a 3 a 3-inning type deal, but he looked good from everything I saw. At least, I mean, I didn't fucking watch the game because it was at 10 o'clock, and
That's like
11 o'clock. Yeah,
that's 4 hours past your bedtime. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. And I was in DC this weekend. Anyway, but Mackenzie Gore, I was very impressed. I don't like he's gonna get another start, right? He's like is he in the rotation now?
yeah. Until Snell comes back, I think he will at least make one more start. I don't know what the news on Snell is yet, but he was filling the Snell void. So
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, I'm interested because Dave told me before the show that I was going to be surprised. So he's going to say that Mackenzie Gore is here to stay, be a mainstay in the Padres rotation for the rest of the season, and someone that you should be buying in Dynasty Baseball.
So here's what I'll say. I mean, very early on, it's hard to get any conclusions, with such small sample sizes. However, when I look at Mackenzie's numbers here, just on the surface, they're pretty good, right? Like we talked about, 5 1/3 innings, only 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, couple of walks. I mean, not a bad start, especially for a debut. But Jason kind of hit on one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about, in regards to the start, and that's the fact that ultimately he's not going to be able to do what he did in that debut and be successful at the big league level. He's not going to be able to throw his fastball 72% of the time, and be successful. It's not that good of a pitch. I mean, he was coming in average 95.5 miles an hour. So, not bad, major league average, maybe slightly higher. But he's going to have to throw these off-speed pitches a lot more. Of his 73 pitches, 9 of them, were curveballs, and he had put a couple of them right in the middle of the plate. 7 sliders. Again, he's got 2 of them absolutely dead center, and they were all over the place. If you look at his chart there, I mean, they're all over the place. There was no real consistency there, and he's got 3 of them that are up and he hung. And then he threw 4 changeups. Again, not a lot to go off of, but 2 of them weren't even close to the strike zone. So he's gonna definitely have to pitch a hell of a lot better than what he did there, to be successful in the long run. I mean, short term wise, yes, it was a great start, as far as just the peripheral numbers are. But when you dig deep, man, it doesn't look so hot. I mean, 60% hard hit rate. The league average is 35.5. So we're only talking about 15 batted balls, but still that's almost double league average. When you just start going all the way across everything, XBA was at 300. So, giving up pretty good contact, and he's gonna definitely need to rein it in a little bit for him to stick around. It'll be interesting because we know he's been a roller coaster of can't miss prospect to, is this guy going to just be like a middle reliever, to had a great, debut, all things considered. But there's a recipe for disaster there if he doesn't improve on just the way that he pitches. So it'll be interesting. But you know what? At least Mackenzie Gore was on the field, because we can't say the same thing for some of these guys. Big shock. Byron Buxton is already hurt. Nick's AL MVP candidate. If the guy could ever stay healthy, he'd put up pretty good numbers. But, death taxes and Byron Buxton on the IL, man, like, it's crazy. And then, of course, pitching is just absolutely off the chain. So John Means probably done for the season. There'll be no reason for him probably to come back, even if he could later in the season. And then break my damn heart, man, Mize and Manning from the Tigers both got some good news, but both are hurt. So, Buxton, I don't know how long he's going to be out exactly. We're talking, at last I've seen, he's out for at least a week. No structural damage to the knee.
It looked bad.
Yeah.
That's
so,
good. His reaction was bad, but then I think he found out he was fine.
I think all of this is good news except for the Means thing. Better than what it could be, but it is what it is. With Mize and Manning, there was a little bit of news that came out today that doesn't look like Casey Mize needs surgery, which I guess take that for what it's worth. I don't know exactly how long he's going to be out, but the fact that he doesn't need surgery probably at least means, he's almost guaranteed to at least be back this year, whether he's out for a couple weeks, a couple months, at this point, we don't know. And then Matt Manning, they took him out of an abundance of caution. I was watching the game, and he had said that he had some soreness some soreness in his shoulder, and he felt fine to go back out. And they said, nah, we're good, man. Just have a seat. And they didn't find anything wrong with him either. So they said he's probably iffy for his next start. So, my guess is he'll miss that next spot in the rotation, and then he'll probably come back, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know. No big surprises here. It's pitching and Byron Buxton that got hurt early on. So I kind of ran through what the injuries were and kind of my thoughts real quick. But, what are you guys thinking about? Probably everyone but Means, because it seems like Means is probably just done for the year.
Yeah, I think of all the injuries, obviously Buxton's the biggest blow, right? Other than we knew it was coming, but also it's like when he's healthy, we hold out all this hope for him because he just performs so well when healthy. It's just so frustrating as fantasy players, and I'm sure for himself too, because he saw his reaction when he got hurt. Because when he does stay healthy, he performs great. So it's just one of those. I don't know if the body just can't handle the wear and tear that it takes to be an everyday ball player, but I don't know. Again, it's running the bases, so it's not like a lot of his injuries have been on fielding, so I can't even blame put him at DH because he got hurt running the bases.
Home runs. They don't have to run the bases.
There you go, right?
Jeez, man,
and then
so simple.
The Means, I think, obviously for fantasy purposes, probably hurt the most just because a lot of people after that great 2021, people were relying on him as at least a probably SP2, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him go on the 60-day, you're right, Dave, he probably, barring some crazy thing, he may not be back this year. So those two, I think, obviously were the biggest blow fantasy-wise. And then, Mize too, and with Manning, I think those were just maybe done for precautionary. I like to see them maybe get even just a couple, skip their turns a little bit, maybe even living some innings on them for the long run. We'll see them back here soon enough. So those two,
Mize
I think,
might be out for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it didn't. Literally, they're talking about the good news is he doesn't need surgery.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's not, that's better than needing surgery, but that's not good news.
Right.
And I've actually got Mize kind of all over the place a little bit as far as redraft is concerned. Obviously, Byron Buxton doesn't realize they drafted him in TGFBI. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing this right now. And I actually think I have Mize in TGFBI too, honestly. But, I don't know. It is what it is. What do you think, Nick?
I'm grateful that Buxton is not dead. I was watching the game, and I see him slide, and I see the immediate, it was like anger pain. He was so mad that he was like, oh, shit, it happened again.
Yeah.
And my brain was like, did he just tear his ACL? But then he jumped a couple times, and I was like, okay, maybe he's just trying to see if he can feel something. And then he was walking off the field, and it looked like he said, I heard it pop. And I was like, oh, my God, what is going to happen? But thankfully, no structural damage yet. And as for Mize and Manning, they've been hanging out with Eduardo Rodriguez for too long because he gets hurt like a little bitch too. So
he's probably next.
It's E-Fraud from now and forever.
Only because he turned his back on Boston.
Yeah.
If he was on Boston still, he wouldn't be E-Fraud.
Let's go ahead and dip our toes a little bit into some minor league talk here. And let's talk about a guy that when he came out and got drafted, that he was my 1-1 for first-year player drafts. And that's Nolan Gorman, who is absolutely just killing it for AAA right now for the Memphis Redbirds. Again, small sample size, so take it for what we're talking about here. We got 37 at-bats, so 10 games, and he's already got 6 home runs, 6 RBIs, so obviously all solo shots. He's got 15 strikeouts, so that's a pretty high K percentage, but again, 37 at-bats, so take it for what you want. Batting .351, .415 slug, 838. 415 OBP, 838 slug for a 1253 OPS. So obviously this isn't going to continue, but But my word, man, like that, you definitely want to see him get off to a start like this. A guy who is just got, prodigious power. You want to see him doing exactly this. Everything's a little bit inflated right now. It's obviously going to come back down, but it'll be fun to see, kind of how long this lasts. And, maybe if he doesn't, force his way up to the Cardinals here at some point, if this continues for, I don't know, another month, I don't know what choice they have, but to bring him up, which again, probably pretty unlikely, but what are you guys thinking about Nolan Gorman doing exactly what you want to see him do right now?
I love Nolan Gorman. And I just looked it up because I anticipated him to be older than he was. He's still 20, which is, he'll be 21 in May. But no, he'll be 22 in May.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. He's basically 22. He's 3 weeks away from being 22, which isn't old.
No. I was thinking he'd be 24 by this point, but it's one of those things where I just have heard the name for so long. I'm like, he's got to be old, but he's not. Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out in my head where to put him, and I'm guessing it would be the end of Paul Jadon. Is that how you say his name? Because Edman's been good, and DeJong has not. So I feel like there would need to be a move with him, either trade him or just move him to the bench completely.
It could just be less at bats for Pujols.
Make it easy.
They have the DH now, so
yeah. Okay.
Right. It's so. I don't know. If he's hitting, obviously he's not going to hit this well, but if he's hitting well, you're going to find a spot for his bat. Whatever that means, you're going to find a spot for his bat.
Pujols has been good, which is off topic, but just in general, Pujols has been good.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. And Pujols might even be the kind of guy who, if Gorman's playing well and gets called up, he may very well just kind of cede that opportunity and say, "All right, young man, I'm just here for a swan song kind of thing." I'll be happy to, split at bats here with you, and you take 4 days a week, I'll take 3, and we'll just go from there. And, he seems like that kind of guy. He doesn't seem like the selfish kind of guy who's like, "I'm fucking Albert Pujols, bitch. Like, you sit your ass on that bench."
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before Gorman makes his, way into that lineup. If it wasn't for, Tommy Edman again getting out that hot start, still a little early, but I feel like we'd probably see him sooner than later. He's got a little 6 home runs, 4 in a row here, so definitely off to a scorching start. And yeah, even for, we've seen these teams bring up these younger and younger guys, right? We've seen, not to compare him to Soto and Tatis, but, teams aren't reluctant to bring up 21-year-olds anymore and 20-year-olds. So I foresee him being up, sooner than later.
Yeah. And honestly, my guess is that since he's already been down for a couple of weeks, there's probably no rush to not let him pass that Super 2 deadline. And, you know what I mean? Like, what's the point in bringing him up now, so to speak? Barring like an injury where it's like, oh, we need him. Just if he's just there as a convenience, kind of, he's gonna wait till that deadline passes, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But another guy who's been good, a guy who won the 5th starting spot there for the Mariners, Matt Brash. So he's got 2 starts underneath his belt now, and he's gone not bad. 10 2/3 innings. 11 strikeouts and 7 walks. So the walk percentage is a little bit high there, but you're happy to see the strikeouts there with reasonable ratios, and kind of a little bit opposite of what I talked about with Mackenzie Gore. You're seeing a nice 3-pitch mix here with Brash. He's throwing the fastball 44% of the time. He's throwing the slider at a quite high, 31, almost 32% of the time. Mixed in a curveball at about 21% of the time. And he's thrown a few changeups, but, you're looking at a 3-pitch mix here. So that's a guy that I know a lot of us were kind of, hyped on a little bit, and he won that 5th spot, and it was a matter of, okay, let's see exactly, what he's going to do. And I think he's earned his spot so far in the rotation. There's been no reason to think that, he hasn't, deserved that spot. So, what are you guys thinking there of the start from Matt Brash?
I love Matt Brash. Sorry. But I'm salty about Matt Brash because I traded him in the offseason. It was dumb, and like I'm watching him play now, and I'm like, holy shit! The stuff that Pitching Ninja is posting of him, it's just like it's literally baseball porn, like pitching wise. It's the movement is unbelievable. I think he could end up being like an actual 2, maybe a 3.
So speaking of crazy movement, I'm guessing you guys didn't see this because this is probably more of like a Tigers Twitter thing, but Jackson Jobe had a start and he threw a slider that was off the charts with the movement. Like, do you guys remember the reliever from Tampa Bay, Jazz Rowe?
Yes.
And he had a slider that was just ridiculous. Just had break on it for just like a legal amount of break. That's what Jackson Jobe's slider looked like, and that's why he got drafted so early by the Tigers. Do yourself a favor, go on Twitter and just look it up, and it's just like holy shit. Anyways, sorry.
No, I think it's funny. A little known fact: Matt Brash was actually in a deal in 2020, and he was one of those player to be named later. So unfortunately for the Padres, that's kind of coming back to bite them. But first 2 starts now, it's been almost a tale of two different guys. And that first start was awesome against the White. And let's also forget he also faced the White Sox and the Astros in his first 2 starts. So the first start was awesome, and then second start was roller coaster. He had 6 walks, and I think he was not perfect. He had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning, but he had 6 walks. I think we call that the Edwin Jackson special, but
former Tiger. Edwin Jackson. Yeah. Oh boy. That's the memory.
Yeah, right. I think the guy had like 140 pitch no-hitter with like 6 walks. But anyways,
right?
Yeah, former Cub. I mean, he's looked. Yeah, absolutely. But Brash, he's looked really sharp again. Like I said, nice mix up with the pitch mix. It's got a 31% CSW going right now, 30% whiff rate. So, and that's against good teams too. So I'd like to see what he can do against some of these. Obviously, I'm not always going to be facing tough schedules. So I'd like to see what he can continue to do for that Seattle lineup.
For sure. Well, let's move to another pitcher who isn't hurt yet. At least this is the profile of exactly the kind of guy that scares the shit out of me, man. Hunter Greene. Holy hell! I should have looked it up beforehand. I don't remember what the stat was, Jason. You very well might. He set the record for most 100-mile-an-hour pitches in a start or something, wasn't it? Like, what was that number?
Yeah, I don't know the. I know his total. I don't know in that one game, but total so far he's had 40 pitches of over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, he threw like 20 some odd.
Yeah, it was something like that,
and something like that it was just crazy. And I mean, if you just look at his average fastball velocity this year, he's thrown 113 fastballs. His average is 100 on the dot.
Yeah.
Now it's getting hit a little bit. He's given. Again, we're not talking a lot. We're talking about what are we talking? 113 pitches, but he's given 333 average, 341 XBA, so right about on track there. Let's see here. Whiff percentage isn't too bad. 40% on the whiff percentage there. So I don't know. It's an interesting pitch. He's throwing it a lot though. He's going to have to dial it back because you're not going to be. I don't care how fast you can throw the ball. You're not going to get away with throwing it 66% of the time. But he is mixing in, some off-speed pitches. He's got a slider. He's throwing about 23% of the time. And he's got a changeup he's working in about 10. And that's more, that's more closer type numbers than it is starter numbers. So he's going to have to figure something out. The difference, though, on his chart, if you look at it, his chart's a lot better than Mackenzie Gore's. And granted, he's got more pitches, so that could have something to do with it. But if you look at his sliders, they're all down and away. Like he's missed a couple times, but they're all down and away. The changeup, I see why he's probably only thrown it 10% of the time because the changeup is a little bit of everywhere, but a lot of it's dead center. He's got a big old red spot right in the dead center for that changeup. And boy, that is not where you want to be throwing, your changeup. I don't care if it's coming in at 90 miles an hour. Like that's still, you don't put anything down the middle of the plate because big league hitters will punish you. But I mean, all in all, I mean, you got to be relatively happy, with what you're seeing from him. I mean, he's not putting up numbers that are gaudy by any stretch of the imagination, other than breaking radar guns. In his 2 starts, he's thrown 10 in the 3rd innings, giving up 9 hits, 5 earned runs. What I like is, the 13 strikeouts is nice. That's obviously, over a K per inning, but he's only walked 2 guys. So,
Yep.
13-2 there on that ratio is fantastic for a guy that, has the kind of stuff he does. He's given up 3 home runs, so that's, I guess, concerning, but with such a small sample, it just is what it is. So I don't know. What do you think there, Jason? I'm sure, boy, as a Red Sox fan, you would about die to have Hunter Greene right now, wouldn't you?
Oh, you mean Nick or me? He's a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, I meant Nick. Did I say Jason?
Yeah.
I'm
stupid.
I would.
That's all right.
I would love to have Hunter Greene, but I just found one tweet. He threw 40 the other night at 100 plus.
Did he really? Okay.
Oh, that was the record. 40 in one game.
I thought it was 30 something, but when
Jason
said 40,
the Diamondbacks have thrown 4 in the last 10 years.
Really?
And can you guys guess? Tell me one pitcher that's thrown one of the 4 in the last 10 years.
Oh God, Archie Bradley, maybe?
Nope. One name is Ruby De La Rosa.
Oh yeah, sure.
He was like a thing for like
a
few weeks.
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah, a couple years ago.
One from Daniel Hudson.
Yeah.
And one from Yon Lopez.
Okay.
But that is so ridiculous. Hunter Greene is a closer. So.
Yeah, that's my concern too. We talked about it earlier, was it last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about an opening day roster, and that was always my fear too. And until he proves me wrong, still only throwing 2 pitches mainly. Again, he is throwing that changeup, but
I guess
it is. Yeah, like I said, I'll let's wait and see if the hitters adjust to it and sit, fastball, and then maybe we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's also, like we were talking about, a little bit small sample size, so can't get too concerned. But he's only got a 30% ground ball rate. He's got I don't know, his weak contact's 0. Not like any weak contact. So
when you throw 300 miles an hour,
when you throw hard, the ball gets hit hard.
You know what I mean? Like you can punt the ball and get a 70-mile-an-hour exit velocity.
Right. Yeah. It's throw the ball hard, it gets hit hard. So again, it's small sample size, but I'll definitely like what I see so far, and I want him to be a starter. And he's already had Tommy John, so I don't know as far as injuries go, but let's hope that he doesn't need a second.
Yeah.
I typically say, give me a guy who's already had Tommy John. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, technically I guess it makes it more likely that he gets another one, but at the same time, that could just be out of the way. You guys do remember, though, whenever we talked about him last, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, you remember basically my rough comp for Hunter Greene, right?
I maybe if you say it, I'll be like,
oh, Chapman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I think that's just a different version of Aroldis Chapman. So, obviously, just like everybody, or at least most people, I think we all want to see him stick in the rotation because, goddamn, man, like you talk about fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
You want to watch him pitch; it's exciting, but I just don't know that he has got the overall stuff to be a mainstay in a rotation. I think he's going to be a dominant closer if he can stay healthy. I don't know. I guess I agree. We will find out. And then what I want to end on is something that's a little bit of old news, but I think it makes for an interesting conversation because I could see the three of us having different opinions on this even. And that's just the, Clayton Kershaw being pulled with a perfect game. A perfect game is one of the most rare things that, happen in baseball. And there's obviously absolutely no guarantee that he would have gotten a perfect game or he would have gotten a no-hitter. You see so many of them broken up in the 9th inning and, in the 8th inning, so there's certainly no guarantee he would have gotten it, but he did get pulled with a pretty reasonable pitch count. No reason to think that if him or Dave Roberts, or both of them weren't just steadfast on it, that he couldn't have at least gone for it, but he didn't. And you could make an argument in a lot of different directions on your thoughts about, what was right or what wasn't right or what you would have done or what you would want your team to do and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of want to open it up to you guys first. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts about Kershaw in that specific instance? And then, even if you were to take it to a guy on your team, in the same situation, what would you like to have seen?
This one is one of those ones where I just go back and forth on because we're talking about perfect game, right? There's only been, I think, like 30 of them in the history of the MLB. It's not like it's a no-hitter. If it's a no-hitter, it's like, okay, whatever. But we're talking about perfect game. Was not pushing a pitch count.
I think
this early in this,
about 80 pitches.
Yeah. But this early in the season, I could see what Dave Roberts was thinking. This is obviously a World Series favorite. You're basically top pitcher. You don't want to put the wear and tear on this early in April. However, it's going for a perfect game. Is with one of the best pitchers in the last decade. So I'm in favor of leaving him in. That's where I would finally stand, at least for another inning or two, and see where we're at. I'm not going to have such a quick hook.
Yeah. At first, I was kind of pissy about it. But then once I heard Kershaw talk, I don't know if he was just saying these things
right
to end the story, or if he was actually kind of mad about it, or if he was actually okay with it. Because he came out and was like, I haven't thrown a ball. He didn't throw all offseason, all the lockout and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily blame Roberts. It's a perfect game, though. You kind of got to let the guy go. That's just like a baseball thing. If a guy has a perfect game, you let him lose it. That's where I'm at.
So, as someone who pitched, growing up at a reasonably high level, I can argue both ways. I can say that I'm telling you right now that if it was me, I would have wanted to stay in the game, and I would have wanted to not come out until at the bare minimum I lost a perfect game, but possibly even until I lost a no-hitter. However, with that being said, I think that the absolute long-term best decision is just to take him out because, a perfect game is absolutely fantastic. However, if, the Dodgers win a World Series with Clayton Kershaw, being healthy in the playoffs, you're going to remember that more than you're going to probably remember that perfect game. So, yes, it'd have been super awesome for a perfect game. But like I said, he had 6 outs to go. And the likelihood of him finishing it is probably pretty slim. I don't know what the odds are, but my guess is it was probably less than 1% that he would actually finish the perfect game. I mean, they just don't happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yes, a perfect game is super awesome and it's super cool, but at the end of the day, this is a team sport. It's not like it's not like he was bowling and going for a 300 game and he didn't throw the 10th frame because he was beating his opponent by 50 pins, and so he didn't have to throw, the last frame. This is a team sport. And winning the World Series really should take precedence over anything and everything else. And, it would have been different if they'd have pulled him with 26 outs, If he had 80 pitches and he had 1 out to go and they're like, oh, nope, sorry, 80 pitches was your limit. You got to go. That's an entirely different story. So I would say that me personally, I would have wanted to stay in there. But I think that at the end of the day, what they did was right. And I don't know if Kershaw was just being a company man and saying, hey, I was cool with coming out because it's not worth causing a ruckus over.
He would be the guy to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's hard to say what he really felt. My guess is he probably was torn. It probably was a situation where, if the manager said, hey, man, you're coming out, what's the benefit of him throwing a hissy fit? What's gained by that happening? Absolutely nothing. So, deep down, he might have thought, man, I was only at 80 pitches. I could have went out there and just pounded the zone and hoped to get a couple of quick outs and seen what happened. And I probably would have got a hit because I'm just going to be, throwing strikes. I would like to find out, but it is what it is, So I don't know. It's just interesting. Those are kind of things that are fun to talk about because you can have a variety of opinions and we all can be right. I mean, you can be hard and fast about either side of this. And I don't think you're wrong. I think it's just an opinion kind of a thing.
For sure.
Real quick, when we're talking perfect games, and I know this kind of hits home to you, Dave, because it's the Tigers, but do you think of this day and age with replay,
Armando
Armand Galarraga's, man, it's like if you would have been pitching in this day and age, he'd go down in, baseball history. I guess he kind of still does because we're still talking about it, right? Like 20 years later, but that one's got to hurt.
It's probably more notable because it didn't happen.
Yeah,
now,
that's true.
because it was so egregious. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like a close call where it was like, oh man, bad call. It was like, what the? Even
a step past the bag.
Yeah, you can watch it live and go, that wasn't even close. What are you talking about? And then what makes the story even better is the umpire, Jim Joyce. Oh, this is going to sound terrible, but he is just so heartbroken over the fact that he cost this kid a perfect game, and then to see, I don't know what I saw. I don't know if it was like an E30 or something or some sort of a quick documentary on it, and to see those two interact, like, man, Armando Galarraga is such a great and such a humble guy. Like, imagine if that happened to Trevor Bauer. You know what I mean? Imagine if that happened to it would just it would have just blown up. But Galarraga was so gracious about it, and I mean,
and you're probably right. It is probably more notable that it didn't happen, because if it did happen, I mean, if I said who threw the last perfect game for the Tigers, you wouldn't know.
Well,
but now you know who
the last perfect game, and I wouldn't.
Exactly. But if I say Armand Galarraga, perfect game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So
you're
right.
The only guy in MLB history to throw a 28-out perfect game. Galarraga, like he's the only one ever. But that's a crazy moment. And even just Miguel Cabrera's reaction. I mean, just so much about it. It's so iconic, and it's unfortunate, but it certainly is a memory that someone in our generation, especially if you're a Tigers fan, like there's no way you'll forget that. I mean, I don't remember any of the Verlander no-hitters. I mean, I know that they happened. I don't really remember them, but I remember Armando Galarraga getting screwed,
Right. Yeah, good point.
I don't know. Interesting stuff. Hopefully next week we will have less injuries to talk about.
And maybe a no-hitter.
We are due for a no-hitter. However, pitching has been atrocious this year.
Who's going to throw one? Garrett Cole.
You know what? I don't care.
Well, he got pulled after 1 2/3 today because he's a bum.
Nick, when's your birthday?
May 25th.
Expect something in the mail.
Okay.
Oh God!
It better not be Garrett Cole's shirt.
Jason, I'm going to need you to text me after this is over. I need to know what's going on here.
All right.
What size shirt do you wear?
Oh, geez, just give it away. You ask like, hey, what size shirt does your fiance wear again?
It's even better. Yeah. His fiance a Garrett Cole jersey.
Get her some like Garrett Cole lingerie.
Even better.
Thing. Fuck Kyrie Irving. That's all.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving's a super bitch. Yeah.
We'll end it on that.
I wouldn't like Kyrie Irving if he was on the Pistons. You know what I mean? Like that guy's just a fucking
tough because he's good.
Oh, he's an amazing basketball player, but he's an equally shitty person.
Yeah. He also thinks the world's flat. So
yeah, he's fucking weird. I think we'll end on that note.
Yeah,
so I appreciate everyone tuning in. We appreciate you, giving us your time, and we'll see if we can't do better next week.
See you guys.
See you guys.